Well, there had to be a weak episode eventually. Alien Earth. So I don't think I was unkind to the previous episode, but I did kind of say that the last episode was the kind of stuff that I was afraid the show would be and didn't want it to be. But I also acknowledged that, like, it's a perfectly serviceable thing for it to be, and I didn't mind it doing it as a one-time thing, especially doing it later in the season rather than opening with it. So, like, I still thought that the previous episode was well done, even if it isn't necessarily what I want from the show. This is the first one that feels a bit weak. Now, that is kind of still by the show's own metrics, because, like, by a lot of other measures, this would be better than it is here, but, like, the show's generally been better than this up to this point. And I think it actually comes down to one very simple thing. Too many people are stupid in this episode. Now, like, here's the thing. By and large, I can accept, especially in anything that is horror related, I can accept a certain amount of the plot moves forward because somebody did something stupid. It's a very standard thing to have happen. That having been said, there are limits to that. You can have characters act too stupid, or you can have too many stupid things kind of happen in succession. There is a limiter on this. Now, on the one hand, this show actually kind of gave itself some leeway, at least with how some of the characters are set up. Like, all the Lost Boy characters, like, they don't have, like, a full adult comprehension. So, like, here's one that is a character doing something stupid that didn't bother me. So, using this as an example that I think gets away with it. I forget half these characters' names. Whatever one was in the science lab that the bugs got, him getting stuck in there with them because he was just propping the door open with his foot and then slipped and got locked in. That is something that I would say, no, you are too stupid for that, of an actual adult character. But see, the thing is, he's just been loading up on science and book knowledge, and this is the kind of thing that a little bit more real-world experience would have told him, that's a very bad idea, don't do that. So that is a character being stupid that I can accept. Some of the others, I don't want to say that they are unacceptable, but they definitely stack up. So, like, that thing with that character and getting taken out that way, that would have been a totally acceptable, allowable level of stupid for a given episode, especially given who it happened to. And then I'd say most of the other stuff that I'm going to mention and some things that I'm not going to bother mentioning, if it had been like one of these other things, that could have worked. But, like, when you are adding up the wiping one of the kids' memories and not telling any of the other kids about this, not even giving them a cover story, so that as soon as she wakes up, Marcy talks to her and is like, oh boy, that was a pretty crazy thing that happened this week. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you didn't even think to cover for that? That's really stupid. You fire one of your main tech guys, you tell him he has to be off the island, by the end of the day or whatever, but you don't keep somebody from security on him to escort him around and make sure he doesn't steal anything or break something out of spite. And as a result, he just is able to he still has to be a little bit sneaky about it, but he's just able to get information to Marcy's brother. And it's this kind of pileup of this sort of stuff. And there's a few other things that go on besides. And it's just like, this is too much. This is too much of the plot that is being moved forward only because people are stupid. Now, like, again, I'm not saying you can't have any stupid. Like, the original Jurassic Park balances it well. There's the overarching stupid of the fact that John Hammond was running a skeleton crew at a park with very dangerous animals with it. Now, in theory, he would have had a fuller crew when he'd actually opened the park in full, but to cut costs, he was running a skeleton crew, and then Nedry was both greedy and stupid, and that just sets off the whole cascade. But, like, to make the comparison, even within the Alien franchise, the original Alien they weren't stupid. They were ill-equipped. Like, they were space truckers, effectively. They were not prepared to deal with this thing. Aliens, they were a bit more prepared because they were Marines who, well, they didn't know the extent of what they were up against, but they did kind of at least have a sense of what they were up against, and they knew they were going into danger. But that is a case where, like, them being prepared and not being stupid makes the threat greater. Sure, have all the ammo and backup you want, none of it's gonna help you. And that, like, that's what really lands right, is when characters make smart or at least understandable decisions and it still doesn't help. As opposed to just sort of a, everybody's passing the idiot ball around. And that's just disappointing. Because I think better of Noah Hawley as a showrunner, and I think better of this show than to resort to just passing around the idiot ball between characters. And he gets passed around a fair bit in this episode. I don't want to say that nothing works. I actually quite liked the negotiation thing between the boy genius character and Yutani. That was great. I loved that. I loved him negotiating for that while keeping in his back pocket the whole time, like, cool, you can have your stuff back as soon as the quarantine period's up. The quarantine period that all these corporations agreed to for this kind of thing. As soon as that's up, you can have it back. And, like, she knows she got played. She knows that he just got her because he's going to learn so much stuff in that time from her proprietary findings, animals, and he played it well, and I didn't think of it, and I felt like that was a good demonstration of actual, like, ruthless cleverness from him, because I don't want to say that he is a stupid character, but he is kind of one who is talked up a great deal and certainly thinks very highly of his own intelligence. But it was kind of nice to see at least a kind of intelligence very much at play here, because prior to this, and, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I actually need him to be the genius they claim he is. He's a, well, trillionaire in universe, but he's the equivalent of a billionaire. Most of them aren't actually smart. They just hire smart people and yes men, and thus think that they themselves are smart. I don't have a problem with portraying him that way, but I like this because you don't necessarily need to be a genius to pull off the move he just did, but you do have to be a certain kind of ruthlessly clever, which is a good thing for capitalists to be. So, yeah, that tracks. So I dug that. I liked that. There just isn't too much else to talk about. Stuff's just starting to come apart on the island and for everybody. But again, just a few too many stupid things. Oh, that was the other one I was gonna mention was the brother, like, being super obvious, acting like, so how far are we from the mainland? And is there a boat? And, like, yes, granted, he's talking to the people from his own unit who have been kind of co-opted to run security here as opposed to people who were previously stationed here. But, like, still, dude, come on. Yeah, it's that on top of the other stuff, on top of the not telling Wendy or any of the other kids, some kind of lie to explain why one of them suddenly doesn't remember stuff and all this other stuff. And it's just like, everybody just got a little bit stupider this episode because that's what facilitated the narrative. And that's just kind of a shame. I'll tell you what, I really like that sheep. That thing, like, just the stare and the slow way it turns its head. I freaking love that thing. It's unsettling as hell. And I dig it. I think that's about it. I mean, like, it's a disappointing episode by the standards that this show itself has actually set. But at the same time, like, is it going to make me stop watching? No. I just hope that this is a hiccup and not an indication of using lazy tactics to get us through the remainder of the episodes. I like to think better of Noah Hawley than that, but then again, I also would have thought better of him than this episode already. But again, hopefully this is like a hiccup. But we'll see. Alien Earth! episode 6. There, I got it. What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe. Those all help. Don't worry about too much of it. Don't worry about it too much, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lafula, Monty Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Alyssa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, Pau Barabajoggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite, as well as Welsh Wrestling Geeks. So, folks said they wanted the rats back. Here they are. I really should have not worn something that exposed this much skin. Their nails are sharp. Ow. Oh, you guys. Get back here. Butthead.